The economy, public finances, high inflation, stretched public services, industrial unrest, soaring energy bills and even the possibility of blackouts this winter. And this weirdly timed Halloween budget is creeping ever closer, like a spider. Is our economy in for a spooking? Let's turn now to economics and business editor Liam Halligan with On the Money. Liam, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. First and foremost, before we get stuck into the kind of nitty-gritty of this, what does Rishi Sunak really mean for the markets in the short term? Has he actually settled it? Is he a solid choice economically for you?
Well, for the financial markets, they seem to be a bit calmer. Since the weekend or early Saturday morning, the borrowing cost, the government's 10-year borrowing cost, what we now know is called the gilt yield. Nothing to do with that old Barbara Streisand album. Guilty. Ask your mum.
All right.
The gilt yield has fallen quite a lot. It's fallen from about 4.1% to about 3.7%, which is the best part of 0.5%, which is, makes a difference whether you can afford to pay a mortgage or not pay a mortgage. So now I was just in the newsroom just before coming on looking at the sort of longer term graph. That 10-year borrowing cost is now roughly where it was, wait for it, drum roll.
Here we go.
Before the mini budget.
Oh.
So the 10-year borrowing cost has returned roughly to where it was before we even thought about the top rate of tax being changed or any of those other rather large rabbits that Kwasi Kwarteng, remember him, pulled out of the hat. So for borrowers, if you've got a mortgage, if you need to remortgage, there's not much good news around at the moment, but that is some good news.
I was having a chat with someone on the train earlier on, actually. Normal person, as it were, and I think I want to ask a normal person's question, OK?
Yeah.
Yes, I am a man of the people, Liv. Which is, what does all of this mean in terms of the budget? Because he made this point to me, he said, well, we had Kwasi's budget, that's in the bin. We had Jeremy Hunt stand up and deliver a statement. We don't even know if he's going to stay on as Chancellor at the minute. We've got a statement coming supposedly on Halloween. What is going on in terms of our budget? Who's in charge of it?
Everyone's confused because no one really knows what's going on. And the reason they don't is because the Prime Minister made certain promises from the dispatch box, and she still is the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, until Rishi Sunak meets King Charles. She said at the dispatch box, for instance, I promise that the triple lock will be observed. What does that mean? That means that pensions, the old age pension, among other things, go up by 10.1%, which is the rate of inflation in September. So that means that following April 2023, that's how much the pension will go up by. Jeremy Hunt, we don't know if he agrees with that or not. And I would strongly suspect he will stay on as Chancellor. He was Health Secretary for 6 years. He was the guy who was kind of brought in to clean up the mess after the financial markets reacted badly to the mini budget. But it's not just pensions, it's across the whole gamut of public policy, all benefits. And in particular, here's the really big one that no one's really mentioned today that I've heard much here across any of the broadcasters. One of the really big issues of Rishi Sunak's inbox is once he's calmed down financial markets, and that seems to be the case so far today, he needs to decide whether or not he is going to have a major scrap with the public sector unions. Because the public sector unions, the TUC conference, before the main party conferences that people frankly pay more attention to, at the TUC annual conference, it's very clear the teachers' unions, the BMA, the doctors' unions, some of the other medical unions, they are spoiling for a fight because in the view of their members, and they're fully entitled to say this, they want pay rises that are getting on for the rate of inflation, which is, 7, 8, 9, 10%. A lot of people in the private sector who are paid less on average than the public sector anyway these days, they are not going to get pay rises that big. That is going to really test out Rishi Sunak's mettle and also the determination of his party to get behind him. All the One Nation Tories you've heard from today, like Robin Walker, right, very much from the sort of the left of the Conservative Party, completely legitimate place to be. It's where a lot of the country are, frankly. These One Nation Tory members. Are they going to get squeamish? Is their stomach going to start turning when Rishi Sunak has to have a major fight with the public sector unions and that they start striking in a bid to try and balance the budget with the gilt yield moving up again? Because if the government gives way on that 10% pay rise, roughly, then the financial markets are not going to like it.
That's a really, really key point. And Liam, I hope to continue that conversation with you a bit later on and in the coming days, because that is going to be the big one going forward.
That's the big flashpoint.
That's the big one going forward, which is what does he do? We're going to see some kind of like Thatcher with the miners type striking, I suppose. I don't think we will necessarily.
Well, there'll be a lot of fear and loathing. There'll be a lot of people who fear they are, justifiably fighting for their livelihoods and the financial security of their children. But there'll be a lot of other people, the vast majority, 4/5 of people, some of them in the private sector, who are thinking, why should public sector people, why am I paying for inflation-busting pay rises when I'm not getting any pay rise?
Spot on. Liam Halligan, as ever, our economics and business editor. Thank you very much. Lots to watch out for.